we did change. We certainly changed our discipline, especially in the first half. The start of the game, our discipline to the rules of the game was much better. And therefore, we didn't put as much pressure on ourselves in Game 2 as we did in Game 1. In Game 1, we gave away 3 penalties in the first 10 minutes, which was... It was just so hard to play catch-up from there. And I thought we got that part of the game a lot better.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Billy Slater Podcast. Yes, Billy is back. Cameron Smith tried to just knife him last week by doing a wonderful job filling in, but it's great to have Billy back, and there's so much to discuss, particularly after Origin 2 and some terrific games that we saw this weekend in the NRL. We do it all thanks to Tab. How are you, Billy?
I'm good, thanks, Salty. What was that all about? Did Cameron Smith come on the podcast?
Yeah, can you believe it? He worked on a Monday for the first time in I don't know how long, and he did the podcast last week in your absence.
Oh, well, he must have been halfway through a golf session, so I appreciate that. Not the first time Cameron Smith's done half of my job. That happened for about 20 years, so thanks, Smithy.
Yes, well done, Cameron. He did send in an invoice, though. You won't be surprised.
I bet he did.
Yes. All right, let's get on to things. First up, and I know you covered off a fair bit of Origin on the Sunday footy show, but now that you've had that 4 or 5 days to reflect after Perth, and I suppose from your point of view, it's like I was trying to think of games that are done in thirds. It's like an ice hockey game where we're at the about to go into the final third. It was good to have that result. We've got the decider now for Sydney. So is that more of your reaction, Billy, the fact that, hey, job done in Perth, but job certainly not done overall yet?
Yeah, look, I think big picture-wise, obviously she's game on now. It's decider time in Sydney, and it's 1-1. We're neck and neck and both at the starting line. So I think that's the big picture. But there's a process to undergo, exactly the same after game 1. There was a process to undergo, making sure that we're looking at the game and working out what we did well, and not ignoring that and getting after that. But, taking out some improvements and what we didn't get right in the game. So game 2 will certainly unearth both of those categories, what we did well and what we didn't do well. And then when we get into camp on Monday, then it's time to go after it and build our best performance for game 3, because we know, New South Wales at home are certainly going to be hurting from game 2, and it's going to be a tough game. Deciders are always tough. You only have to look at 12 months ago and how hard that one was. It was probably the toughest Origin game that I've seen for a long time, and both teams really turned up, and there was only a couple of moments in it, and I'm sure that'll be the same case come Wednesday fortnight.
You spoke after game 1 about different areas that the team needed to improve on, and one of the things that stood out for me, Billy, was when you spoke about change, it didn't necessarily mean change in personnel. It was change in attitude, change how you go about doing things. Did that change happen in the way that you thought it would? Were the players that you just wanted something different, something more out of maybe? Did they all react in the way that you had hoped?
Yeah, it's a good question, Salty, and you've got a good memory. And, we did change. We certainly changed our discipline, especially in the first half. The start of the game, our discipline to the rules of the game was much better. And therefore, we didn't put as much pressure on ourselves in Game 2 as we did in Game 1. In Game 1, we gave away 3 penalties in the first 10 minutes, which was... It was just so hard to play catch-up from there, and I thought we got that part of the game a lot better. In saying that, I felt our discipline in Game 2 towards our game probably wasn't to the standard that we thought we were going to get. 15 errors, it just heaped a whole heap of pressure on us when we were starting to build it on the opposition. So... that's an area that we can get better at, but it was a really slippery night, and I understand the conditions, and both teams sort of were in this boat, but we were a little bit worse than the opposition in terms of the discipline to our game.
Billy, one thing that we're seeing at the moment, and we saw it on Wednesday night, we saw it most recently in the NRL and basically throughout the whole season, is that leads of, say, 16 to 24 points, I mean, you're not safe, are you? We've seen some huge turnarounds in games, and last Wednesday was no different.
It's a real trend in the game, isn't it? Whenever you're out to a lead, it seems the opposition just come back. And look, I think you can hold leads. It's up to your game. And, in the second half, we certainly, put a whole heap of pressure on ourselves by turning the ball over and giving the opposition chances in our own half. We had to defend 48 tackles inside our own 20, which is incredible. We only got 27 opportunities, so that's nearly double the opportunities we've given the opposition to attack our try line. So a lot of that was on ourselves and giving the ball over in good field position. And you give a side like New South Wales that many opportunities, and they're going to come up with points occasionally. So we need to reduce that number. But yeah, you're never safe in the game at the moment.
One final one on Origin, Billy. You look ahead this week. Players that backed up, I think just about everyone got through this week. And now you watch next week with not so much heart and mouth, but just fingers crossed, hey? Just making sure that everyone gets through and you can get them all together in camp next Monday?
Yeah, I think the first thing is, Salty, is take a breath. Take a breath and sit back and let the process unfold. Let the players get back to their families and their home environments. I'm sure a lot of the players that played over the weekend, that played Origin, would have a little bit of time off this week so they can exhale and, rejuvenate and recharge their batteries. And then for me, it's about watching the game and really identifying what parts of the game we did well, and then how we're going to go after them again, and then also tinker and adjust some other parts of our game. So when we get into camp on Monday, we're ready to rock and roll, and we're not wasting any time. We're going after our performance, and yeah, it's a decider. It's exciting. These are the ones you want to be playing in, and these are the ones you want to be involved in.
Yeah, just looking at that, you played in many of these games, deciders. Is enjoy the right word? The build up to it. What's in your mindset, particularly going back to when you're wearing the number 1 jersey, Billy, and you're playing in a game like this? How did you approach a Origin decider?
It was all about my performance, and the joy comes when you get your preparation right, Salty. That's where the joy comes. If you get your preparation right and you get your performance right, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. So that's the key. The key is to making sure that you do everything possible to get your best performance out on the field, and then collectively as a team, you get your best performance out on the field, and the rest takes care of itself, and the joy's there.
Yeah, all right. Well, we certainly cannot wait for the series decider at a core stadium in about 10 days' time. Now, let's get on to the NRL from over the weekend. And we talk again, don't we, each and every week about the closeness of the competition. Doom and gloom for the Brisbane Broncos 3 weeks ago. They've gone win by win and a comeback victory against the Sharks, and now they sit in 5th place on the table.
Well, there's another team there too, Salty, that were last a month ago, and now they're in the top 8, and their name are the Penrith Panthers. Wouldn't they have some teams looking over their shoulder at the moment? Now they're sitting in the top 8, and if they can remain in the top 8 up until September, they can really push for another premiership. Like they're a great team, and that's how close it is. Look, I think the top 4, there's 6 points separating the top 4 to the 5th place Broncos, but they've really deserved that. The Bulldogs, the Raiders, Storm, and the Warriors, they've deserved that because they play consistent football, and then it's so tight. It is 2 competition points from 16th, the Rabbitohs. 4 competition points from 16th to 5th, the Broncos. That is, you put a good month of footy together and all of a sudden you're in the top 8 and you're playing finals. So anything can happen. It's the time of the year to do it because there's 11 rounds to go, and you want to string some games together now, which the Broncos are doing, and they'll put themselves in a good position for 6 weeks' time when they're a month out from the finals.
Yeah, for sure. That game against the Sharks yesterday at Suncorp Stadium, Cronulla, well, they looked in control as far as scoreboard is concerned, but we were talking prior to the starting the podcast, and you're talking about just the ability of Brisbane just to find points, accumulate points.
Well, that's where they can get themselves out of trouble. They've got some classy players that can just come up with moments that score points. I think the inclusion of Ezra Mam and Reece Walsh over the last few weeks have given them that chance. Before that, I don't think they would have got the job done in this game. But those two players they've just got points in and around them, and I'm sure there's some areas of their game that they'll want to fix up and they'll want to adjust, but. It's a great luxury to have when you've got class players that can just come up with points when you're in trouble. I think it was 22-6 at one stage for the Cronulla Sharks, and Craig Fitzgibbon will be really disappointed about losing that lead, especially, not just Fitzy, but the Cronulla club have always been a real defensive-orientated club, a real tough, gritty team, and to let that sort of lead go, I think he'd be really disappointed with that, and that was there for the taking, a big occasion up in Brisbane. And I thought they were playing some really good footy. They played some great footy, but then they just leaked some points late to let the Broncos back in, and they were too good, the Bronx.
That they were. You already touched on the Panthers, so let's go straight to that game. And wow, Billy, what an effort to go over to New Zealand minus all the Origin players, and I know Kurt Capel wasn't there for the Warriors either, but that's a huge win for the Penrith side.
And playing against a team that have only lost 3 games before this game all year. Like the Warriors are doing a lot right as a team, and they're sitting in the top 4 for a reason. And to go over to Penrith, to New Zealand, and play a top 4 side without 5 of your lead men, that is an incredible performance, and I'll be talking about this team a little bit later on in the awards, because that's something that can really change a season, and it galvanises the group. It makes a group feel a part of the season, because all of these younger guys, and some of them won't be playing at the back end of the year. When you put the 5 Origin players back in, 5 guys have got to come out. But those 5 that come out have all of a sudden felt like that they've contributed to this season. Therefore, it's a great camaraderie within the group, and a great feel and a great culture. Yeah, this win can do a lot for a footy team, and now they're sitting in the top 8. They can see the light.
Yeah, and the other thing too that I think we need to touch on when we talk about the closeness of the competition, and I'm pretty certain you highlighted this right at the time, Billy, that draw earlier in the year between the Panthers and Cowboys just adds that other element to it all, doesn't it? Because they're there in the 8 on that 17 points.
Yeah. Well, they're not relying on for and against. So there's 3 teams on 16 points. They're sitting 9th, 10th, and 11th, and the Panthers are on 17. So they're outright 8th. They're not relying on for and against. I just want to touch on some of the younger guys for the Panthers. Blaze Talangi, I think, has been outstanding. Young Jenkins on the wing. Jesse McLean, he's a superstar. He's going to be a great player. They've really persisted with some of these young guys, and when they get the experience filtered back in and around them, like they're going to be incredible players. And the Panthers just continue to develop players. Like they've done it over the last 5 years, and it looks like they've done it again this year. It's taken a little bit more time. Maybe they just lost 1 or 2 too many to keep that top 4 status up, but they're still there. And these younger guys, I thought Blaze Talangi, well, he scored the match-winning try. I thought Jesse McLean was outstanding. And young Jenkins, he took that intercept, and if he doesn't, the result probably goes the other way. So they're really standing up, the young boys.
Yeah, that they are. Another team that's got youngsters standing up, and you were there at Allianz Stadium yesterday, the Roosters. Boy, Trent Robinson knew what he was doing when putting this squad together for this year. They were terrific against the Cowboys.
They have been really good. They have been really good. There's a guy that was wearing number 13 yesterday, Celesi Fiketti. He's a real player. I loved watching him play. His defence, he had great technique. He's been obviously working with Victor Radley, the way that he tackles. But even with the football, he scored a try a couple of weeks ago, like an outside back, and he's a wonderful player. They're a footy team. They're a serious footy team. Nwanga Nitawazi's really developed his game. Love what the Roosters are doing, and they're sitting in the top 8. They're sitting 7th at the moment, but they're one of the form teams of the competition.
They are. On the other side of that is the North Queensland Cowboys. Todd Payten now, he's got some work to do, does he, with this team to lift them?
Yep.
Because it hasn't been a happy run in the last couple of weeks for North Queensland.
Yeah, no, it hasn't. It hasn't. That's 3 tough losses on the trot. I think they went down to the Melbourne Storm before the bye. Then the Dolphins, a pretty convincing win, and then yesterday they were hardly in the contest. So a bit of work to do for the Cowboys. They were without Reece Robson and Reuben Cotter, who that accumulates to about 100 tackles. So the workload had to be shifted through the group, and they weren't in the same class as the Roosters yesterday.
Yeah, so they've got a game against the Titans coming up this week. The Titans themselves, they showed promise the week before, didn't they, against Manly, but they were in the contest against Parramatta. This is an important game for both teams, but the Eels dominated the second half.
Yeah, just inconsistent, aren't they? And not just week to week, it's within games as well. So they're in a bit of a hole at the moment, the Titans, and I really feel they missed their fullback. Keanu Kinney, he had so much energy to this footy team, and he went down with a neck injury early in the season. They just haven't played the same footy since he's been out. They've shifted, fullbacks, different players have played there. De Groot, now AJ Brimson's back there, so they've had to reshuffle their key positions around since that moment Keanu Kinney went down. The other guy is the lock forward that went to the Warriors.
Aaron Clark.
Aaron Clark's another big loss that, we probably didn't realise how much of a loss he was going to be to the Titans until he sort of left and went over, and he's doing what he's doing over at the Warriors. So, a couple of key outs there that have really affected their performances.
Yeah, that's a big game for both the Titans and Cowboys coming up this Sunday afternoon. Just on the Dolphins, you made mention of them before, and the Newcastle Knights, they did battle over in Perth, and this was a good win for the Knights, wasn't it? And another long-term injury for the Dolphins, Jack Bostock, unfortunately, with his ACL. That means it's now Bostock, Max Plath, Tom Flegler, Tom Gilbert, all out for the season for the Dolphins.
Yeah, it's disappointing, isn't it? Yeah, it's but they're a resilient club, and they've only been around for a few years, but they just seem like they've got so much resilience. The Saturday games, the Panthers went over to New Zealand with no Origin stars and beat one of the form teams of the competition, upset. The Knights, who have been struggling, played a team that have scored 158 points in the last 3 weeks in the Dolphins, the form team of the competition, upset. And then the Bunnies nearly beat the Storm on Saturday night in Golden Point. The Melbourne Storm going up, taking down the Bunnies 25-24, nearly an upset. It was nearly the upset Saturday, and the Dolphins have been up for so long over the last month, and they've been doing so well, and they still nearly won this game. It was an effort play by Brodie Jones at the end of the game that stretched out and won the game for them, but. I thought the Knights were really good. Right from the opening 10 minutes, you could see the energy in the Knights and the way that they were playing. And when you've got that, you're always going to put yourself in the contest.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. Those 3 games on Saturday were certainly epic, that's for sure. So they're a lot. Well, let's get back on actually to Saturday because you only just touched on it there. Wow, 12-0 after 6 minutes. Thought it was going to be one of those first half onslaughts from Melbourne where they rack up 30 or 40 points in the first half, but then South worked their way back into it. There were a few errors from Melbourne as well, but this was entertaining. I don't know whether it was entertaining for Craig Bellamy, but it was entertaining for us sitting at home watching.
I love thinking about and watching the relationship between probably one of the best attacking teams in the competition and one of the greatest defensive orientated coaches that we've ever seen. So it's a great marriage, isn't it? Like you've got the playing group who just see these opportunities and they want to go after them and they want to score tries, and then you've got this coach sitting in the box that just wants his team to play consistent and safe and boring, and that's what's successful in the game. And it's like they're trying to find this balance, and if they get the balance right, they're the team to beat. They're an incredible footy team, and that's Craig's challenge, is to find that balance, because after sort of 6 minutes, they were 12-0 up, and it just looked like it was going to be the Melbourne Storm show. But I've got to give credit to the Rabbitohs. I thought the Rabbitohs, I spoke about the energy of Newcastle just before. The energy of South Sydney, they were ready to play for this. They had no Cody Walker. Obviously, Cam Murray's out as well, and Campbell Graham. So they had some really key outs out of this footy game, but they were committed. Wayne Bennett certainly had his team up for this one, and Latrell Mitchell was fantastic. Once he felt that, hey, there's an opportunity here, he really went after the game, and Alex Johnston scored 4 tries, which takes him, I think, within 7 tries of the all-time try-scoring record in the history of the game, which is an incredible achievement, and hopefully he can get that this year. But it was a wonderful game to watch, and it was Ryan Papenhuyzen with just a little bit of class at the back end of the game that won it for him. Latrell had a kick from the sideline to win the game, which he pretty much got his team back in that position, but it just sort of went to the left-hand side of the post. So, a great game to watch, and one that I'm sure Craig Bellamy will be stewing over.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's go back to Friday night, and Canberra just keep racking up the wins. I think that's now 6 in a row away from home. It's 10 of their last 11 overall that they've won. They just keep, as I said, just keep racking up those victories. And what a great moment it was too. Jed Stewart, I know Ricky, I think, was a bit hesitant to give him a debut, but the players said no, he deserves his shot after Tamale's injury, and he scored a try and debut, which was fantastic.
They just know how to win at the moment, the Raiders. What was it, 16 points to 12? They just get the job done. They've won by 20 points, they've won by 30 points, they've won by 40 points, they've won by 50 points. And they just know how to get it done. Whatever the opposition score is, they can score more. So I thought it was a tough, gritty win. I thought the Tigers were pretty good. They hung in the contest. And you're right. Jed Stewart made his debut, son of Ricky Stewart, which would have been a huge occasion for the club, not just for Ricky and Jed, but for the playing group as well. They care for their coach, and they would have understood how much that meant to Ricky and to Jed, and they supported him. He scored a nice try. He came up with some really good moments. It would have been a great bus trip back to Canberra from Campbelltown, and they just know how to win at the moment. There's something going on in Canberra. There's a good environment down there, and there's a really good feel at the moment, and they're just getting it done, and they can do it different ways.
Billy, I want to ask you about their fullback in Kyo Weeks. I thought he had a couple of moments on Friday night, but where he just, right place, right time, it's no fluke. He's great reader of the game. Everyone talks about when he gets into open space how good he is, but I've just been watching him closely the last month or two, and he's really developing into a really good number one, not just with ball in hand. Yeah,
the Raiders they've put a lot of faith into him, and they've given him that trust of that position. He's still not perfect in that position, and he's still got a fair bit of development to go, but he's doing a great job. Like, he's so dangerous with the footy. He's got elite speed. He'd be one of the quickest players in the competition, but with that speed, he can break tackles as well and create opportunities. And there was a moment in the back end of the game that I thought was really important. Like they win by 4 points, and the scores were 16-12 at the time. And he comes up with a try-saving tackle on Jareem Buller. Jareem would have been, have to be within centimetres from the try line, and he makes this crucial tackle. It's probably not the tackle that's the most impressive thing. It's him getting into that position, putting himself in that position to make the tackle. And that's the development in him, and that's the desperation in this footy team at the moment. And everyone's a part of it, and he's doing a great job. There's a number of players that are really standing up for the Raiders, and he's certainly one of them.
Owen Paddy off the bench as well, and they didn't have he didn't have a heap of game time on Friday night, but oh boy, I'm looking forward to seeing this young kid's career. He's a Billawheeler Panther junior, Billy.
Yeah, young Queenslander. The one thing about Owen Paddy is when he gets on the field, he wants to be involved in the game. He wants to create the game. He's got a great kick out of dummy half, strikes the ball really well, really creative, and like I said, he's just got that want. Whenever there's an opportunity, he's looking for it, and he's trying to take advantage of it. So got some great young players coming through. Got Ethan Sanders, Ethan Strange, and also Owen Paddy. We just spoke about Kyo Weeks. There's your 4 key position players, for the next 10, 15 years. And if they can develop those guys together and they can keep them at the club, you've got all this hard-working experience around them. They're a footy team on the rise.
All right, so that's a look at the games from over the weekend and Origin. This is the Billy Slater Podcast, and we do it all thanks to Tab.
Fans always ask, Loza, what was the best era of league? And I tell them, nothing beats the line-breaking, flick-passing, goose-stepping, Vegas-flying, turbo try-scoring, Origin drought-breaking, simply the best era of footy we're in right now. And with more market stats and insights, it's easy to enjoy the best era in footy with the best app in footy.
Tab. We're on.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Time now for the Billy M Medal. This is the best player and best team each week. We do it thanks to Tab, and it is still called the Billy M Medal for those that did tune in last week. We're not permanently changing it to the Smithy M's. It is the Billy M Medal. We won that battle, Billy.
Yeah, he got more awards than me, so he can take the name.
Yeah. All right. Best team in the Billy M's. I think you've already alluded to which way this is going.
Yep. Yeah, this is going to the Penrith Panthers. I just think with the amount of experience and quality that comes out of the Panthers in those 5 Origin players, for these young guys and the rest of the Panthers to go over to New Zealand and beat a quality team, I think that I can't go past them as the team of the week.
And player, this might not be as straightforward.
No. Who do you think? I want to get your thoughts. I've got my player in mind, and he comes from a team that didn't win.
Oh, well, that might be around the same. If you score 4 tries, surely you're a chance.
No, same team,
okay.
But different player. Maybe he gave him the ball. I'm going to go Latrell Mitchell.
Latrell, okay.
I thought he was outstanding. I thought he was great against the Storm. I think he set up about 4 tries. He had 4 try assists. He had 2 try assists in the Origin. So there's 6 try assists in a week, and he was heavily involved. If he doesn't play against the Melbourne Storm probably win by 30 or 40 points. But he really went after the game. He nearly kicked the field goal. He nearly kicked the goal from the sideline, and he did pretty much everything else. So, yeah, player of the week, Latrell Mitchell.
Just got me thinking there about who else would have been in there. You mentioned another player earlier, young Fekete from the Roosters. He's one. There were a lot of standout performances on the weekend from a few unheralded players in the game as well. So that was a tough one for you to pick.
Nwanga Nitawazi, Mark, he's developing into a great player. He looked really dangerous on the weekend. James Tedesco, talk about try-saving tackles and just being involved in the game. Like he's in the conversation every week, isn't he, James Tedesco? I think he's playing as good as he's ever played at the moment. So really leading that young side around really well, the Roosters.
Yeah, it certainly is. That is the Billy M medal, thanks to Tab. The NRL season is here for the best time in sport. Tab has the best app in sport. Tab, we're on.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Now, listener questions. This one is from Poppy. How are you, Poppy? Thank you for this question. Hey, Billy, great win on Wednesday. We saw Munster give you one of his earphones in the coverage pre-match. What was he listening to? Oh, dear. What does Cameron Munster listen to?
He's watching Play School.
Yeah.
Nah, he's just listening to a bit of music. He just thought he'd share it with me.
Nice. There we go. I'm not going to ask what music Cameron Munster listens to. Anyway, Marcus. Hi, Billy. How was the heart rate in the final 10 minutes of the game? Can you give us an insight into the coach's box at that time?
Yeah, it was probably even a little bit longer than that. And this is what I was alluding to earlier. It was, just putting pressure on ourselves. Every time that we'd turn the ball over down the other end of the field, once we got it back, we'd find a way just to give them that field position back and have to defend our try line. So at stages it was going, and at other stages it was just like, all right, well, we just have to defend this. We have to keep turning up, and everyone just has to keep doing their job. So there were moments I was just sort of watching the game, just going, well, okay, I've got no control here. The guys have got to trust themselves and work together and do their job and continually turn up, and they did that. It was probably the thing that I was most proud of out of the group is, I know that New South Wales scored 5 tries and we scored 4, and we probably got a little bit lucky, with some conversions in the end. But at the same time, to defend our try line the way we did at stages, I was really proud of them.
All right, yeah, good question there from Marcus. So that's our listener questions for this week. If you do have a question for us, Billy Slater Podcast at 9.com.au. Billy Slater Podcast at 9.com.au. Now, new segment, Billy, that's come in the last week or so. It is the Ampol Power Surge. This week, looking for the top 3 box office players, the players that excite and get you out of your seat. Now, only limiting it to 3. That's the hard bit here, because there's some box office players right across the NRL.
Right, I didn't get down to this part of the script. Did Cameron Smith bring this one in as well?
He might have wanted to pay for his petrol.
Okay, can this be? Does this come from the weekend, or is it from the whole of the NRL?
I think it's from the whole of the NRL, not just from out of the weekend. Yeah.
All right, let's start with a guy that I just spoke about before that's injured at the moment for the Gold Coast Titans, Keanu Kinney. I think he is an out-and-out box office player. He brings people to the game. He brings energy to his footy team, and whenever he gets the ball, he goes flat out. He's like a little rabbit and just goes flat out and either creates something. Sometimes he draws a penalty, but he's certainly a box office player. Ooh, the next one. I saw a highlight. I was watching a footy game, and there was something come up, and a highlight of Matty Bowen came on the screen. Boy, you forget how good Matt Bowen was. Wow. I was just like, holy, like that. He was incredible. Could you imagine Matt Bowen playing right now with the 6 again rules and the fatigue in the game? And mate, I would love to see that. So a reincarnated Matt Bowen in 2025 would be a dream of mine to watch footy.
Hey, Billy, he'll back himself now to come back and play.
if you saw this highlight, you go, oh, okay, no, he's probably not in the class that he was now, but he's still playing, isn't he? He plays he plays some of the charity games, and he plays touch footy and all that sort of stuff up in Townsville. But like, what a player he was! Like, sometimes
amazing.
he gets forgotten in conversations, but he was an out and out superstar of our game.
Is that 3?
Oh, I've got
Or do we
another
need
one, haven't
more?
I? I need one more.
Need
Box
one
office
more.
player. Okay, let's go with Marky Mark. Nwanganitawazi.
Yep.
I think he's going to be a box office player, and I saw the development firsthand with Will Warbrick, and coming from the 15-man game or even the sevens rugby, and coming over to league, it took Will about 2 full years to really grasp the game and get a good understanding and a confidence to go and play the game. I actually think Mark has taken less time, and he is a huge human. He is a big man. He's athletic, and he's suited to our game. And I just think he's going to be a wonderful player. He's a wonderful player now, and he's already a box office player. I think once he starts really understanding the game and working out how he can outlay his strengths in the game, I think they're going to have a lot of fun with Marky Mark, the Roosters.
Yeah, aren't we in for just a special time with these guys that are exposed so early, so quickly, if you like, and Marky Mark's probably a little bit different, but you'll just as us as rugby league fans, Billy, to see Mark Nwanganitawase, Suafar Longo, Casey McLean, these youngsters. I mean, boy, it's just it's such a great time.
There's the young back rower for the Warriors as well. Is it Halisima?
Elisima, yeah.
Halisima, sorry. He's an out-and-out superstar. I think he's still a teenager or 20 years old. And there's some great young players in our game. And you think about some of the coaches that they're sitting under, like Andrew Webster. Like Halisima's going to get a great education in rugby league. And the more they learn and the more they understand the game and the more they play with quality players in quality teams, they're going to have great careers. And like that back rower for the Warriors, he is a powerhouse. And to do what he's doing at the age that he is, we haven't spoken about Robert Toyer and these guys, but there's some great young talent coming through our systems, and we're going to need it because we're bringing in the Perth Bears in 12 months' time, and then the Papua New Guinean team maybe 12 months after that. So we're going to need these players to be developed, and they're coming through. So the game's in a good spot there.
Certainly is. Now, whether you're cheering on the sidelines or from the living room, Ampol's got your back on and off the field. Proud to power Australia's own sporting nation. All right, let's have a look at coming up this weekend in the NRL, and we've got some terrific games that coming up, including on Thursday night. Billy, what about this? It is Panthers up against the Bulldogs for round 17 at CommBank Stadium. This will be a game and a half.
That's one of 2 games that really highlight to me. That's the first one. Panthers obviously rested all their origin players, so they've got 5 key experienced players coming into this team fully fresh and ready to go. And off the back of what the young fellas did over in New Zealand, I think they will be right up for this game. The Bulldogs coming off a bye, so they're going to be jumping out of their skin as well. That one shouldn't be missed on Thursday night. And the other one that really jumps out at me, Salty, is for other reasons. And that's the Sunday afternoon on Channel 9 game, Titans and the Cowboys. Now, it's not so much about the winner. It's probably more the pressure on the team that doesn't win. And there'll be some desperate players and desperate teams, desperate moments, desperate coaches, chasing a performance in that game, because that's a big one. That's a real big one.
Yeah, it sure is. 4 o'clock on Sunday on 9, all part of Beanies for Brain Cancer round this week as well. So if you're heading to the football, and even if you're not, just make sure you support the Mark Hughes Foundation by grabbing a beanie this week. We'll have ours when we head to the football this weekend. Billy, well done once again last Wednesday night. Enjoy just a bit of a breather this week, and then the footy, and then obviously into camp next week, mate. So it's been a busy time for you, and we'll look forward to another podcast next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, Salty.
Thanks, Billy. That's Billy Slater. I'm Peter Psaltis. This has been the Billy Slater Podcast. Thanks to Tab, we have a new episode that comes out each and every Monday throughout the NRL season.